How you doing? Look at us, huh? Gonna do another little tour. I bet you can't guess the neighborhood we're doing today, huh, you freaks? Yeah, it's Sunnyside. That's a huge thing behind me, kind of gave it away. It's gonna be a good one, man. Lots of history. It'll be quick, don't you worry, we'll get through all of it. Before we start, Cam, how are you?
Standing.
I know. Okay, guys, that being said, if you've seen these videos before, you know what's coming, baby. Just like and subscribe already. And also, if you've seen multiple of them, you know, go ahead and check out the Patreon too. That's how we fund these things. Keep this thing growing, baby. We're gonna cover the whole damn world one day. Hopefully no one wants to park here, but you know. All right, I gotta get moving. Guys, ton of stuff to cover. Hang in there, baby. It's gonna be worth it. Let's go. All right, so let's start at the beginning, man. We already started the video at the Sunnyside Arch, which was built in 1983. It's an Art Deco throwback. I've talked about Art Deco in a million videos. Don't have time for it here, other than the fact that it came from l'Exposition d'Art Décoratif of 1925 in Paris, France. Architects from the U.S. adopt it there, bring it here. Big thing in the late 20s, early 30s. I digress. Now, Sunnyside actually got its name from the Sunnyside Hill farm of the Bragot family, which was a French Huguenot, or Huguenots, whatever family from the 1700s, 1800s. Sunnyside Hill Farms, that's right, sounds like a milk brand. I don't really drink milk because it makes me now, remember, Queens itself was not a city when it consolidated with New York in 1898 like Brooklyn was. Remember, Queens didn't get actually developed until the 1900s, which is one of the reasons why the architecture here is different than it is in Brooklyn and Manhattan. You don't have the tenements and things like that because it was pretty much a suburb. It was further out. It was little towns like Flushing, Newtown, Long Island City, but the whole thing was pretty much a county. Queens actually got its name from Queen Catherine de Braganza, who was a Portuguese queen. She became the queen when she married Charles II. She was given up by the Portuguese to kind of get to the military might of the British to help them in their war with Spain. She took one for the team, man. She married this freaking creep, Charles II, goes over there, doesn't even speak English, 24 years old, which I guess not speaking English must have come in handy when he comes home, the philandering cheater, and he is getting handsy, and she's like, no speak English, get the hell out of here, you creep. So also another fun fact about her, she's the one who introduced tea to the British. The British weren't drinking tea for fun, they were drinking it for like medicine and stuff. Then she gets there and is like, hey, you guys don't have tea here? I want tea. And now today we consider the British tea drinkers because of her. That's right, tea and crumpets. Whenever you hear someone do that old stereotype, you want some tea and crumpets? That's Queens. And she actually became his wife because Portugal also offered a very nice dowry, lots of dough, and also the cities of Bombay and Tangiers. That's a pretty nice little reason to get married, you know. Let that be a lesson to all you bachelors, huh? You want to look for someone who compliments you and someone whose family gives you international cities. All right. Now keep in mind, Sunnyside was lots of farms up until the mid-1800s when you had first the Sunnyside Railroad Station. A great little scooter there without a helmet in the freaking on Queens Boulevard. Isn't that insane? Anyways, Sunnyside was farms until mid-1800s. You had the railroad station, the first railroad station put here, the Sunnyside Railroad Station, 1850, and in 1848 you had the Calvary Cemetery. 3 million people buried there today. That's insane. It was one of the largest cemeteries in the country, and I'll cover this more in depth in the Woodside video because it is a bigger part of Woodside, so don't get on my case, all right? Relax, it's coming. And keep in mind, we are on Queens Boulevard. Now this was made to be a grand boulevard. In 1912, 1913 was supposed to be the Champs-Élysées, or the Champs-Élysées of Queens. I talked about it in the Forest Hills video, you can watch it there too. But it's massive, you know, there's like 16 lanes in some places. So it's very dangerous. Imagine crossing 16 lanes, man. You gotta like pack a bindle stick and, you know, call your loved ones before you leave and when you get back to the other side so they know you're safe. But it's also known as the Boulevard of Death because of that. You have all kinds of, you know, signs and memorials and things all along it because people get run over all the time. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, this brings up an interesting point. Transportation, big part of the reason that this neighborhood and Queens itself grew and started to grow. This is also the 7 train, which wasn't put here until 1917. It's the IRT, also had a big hand in it. But I'm talking about trains a little too much. Some would say I'm biting off more than I can chew. What'd you think of that, Cam? He's shaking his head because he's so in awe of my wit. I'm rambling. We've talked a lot. Let's keep it moving. A lot of stuff to cover. Let's go. Okay, so transit. That's what we got to talk about. Queens is all about transit. That's one of the things that helped it start blowing up in the early 1900s. One of the things that was the earliest developments, transit-wise, was here at the Sunnyside Yards. Look at that. So the Pennsylvania Railroad Company started buying up land here, like, 192 acres completely at the end of it, in the early 1900s. By 1910, they opened Sunnyside Yards. It's right behind me. I know this is creepy and weird, me standing next to just a freaking fence, but, go figure. They weren't going to let me go down there with a camera, so, this is what the best you can do. But Sunnyside Yards, when it was built, was the largest train yard in the country at the time. It's a big deal. So obviously this land was going to start to be used for something. So the trains also had already started coming out of here, but later on, there would be even more transit coming. Today, this is actually the Amtrak and New Jersey Transit's rail yard. So kind of interesting there. You can see all the trains down there. Now keep in mind, this area was very industrial at the time. So this is one of the reasons why they came out here as well. In fact, here in Sunnyside, you had all kinds of factories, just like in Long Island City, which I talked about in my Long Island City video. You gotta watch that one, you freaks. One of the things they had here in Sunnyside actually was the swing line stapler factory. Huh? You know what that is, Cam? You don't know what swing lines are? Staplers? You know what a stapler is? Stop it, you son of a gun. He's a young kid. These kids don't even know about staplers. Back in the day, we used to use paper. Huh? That's what they call the IRL Notes app. The IRL Notes app. Paper. Miss that. Miss those days, huh? Never mind, I find someone like you. I wish nothing but the best for you. Don't forget me. Sorry, that was very weird. Anyways, we're going to keep talking about transit. Going to go to the next thing, talking about transit. Continue to develop this area. A couple very big things. I'm rambling. I'm singing Adele. Probably going to get copyright stricken because my voice is so close to hers. But let's keep it moving. Hang on. All right. All right, so like I said, this area, Queens, becomes more connected. The Queensboro Bridge, 1909. The IRT, 1917, that's the 7 train. All this kind of creates an area ripe for development, baby. So I'm actually standing now in Sunnyside Gardens, which is this National Register of Historic Places. Pretty cool. That means that the federal government has designated this officially as old as shit. And I'm actually standing in front of Sunnyside Gardens Park, which, believe it or not, is one of only two private parks in New York City. Pretty crazy. The other one being Gramercy Park, which I covered in a video. Yeah, you can watch that. All right. This one, not as much of a snobatorium as that one, but you do need to apply. You need to apply for this. You got to live in the area and then apply. Or I guess if you're, Uncle Jesse's wife in Full House, you just pay them a bunch of money and maybe you'll get accepted. Topical humor, huh? Remember the admissions scandal? Where does the time go? Anyways, this area here, like I said, protected. You can see the brown street signs. It is a historic district. This area is basically adhering to the Garden City theory of development. Now this guy, I talked about this in my Forest Hills video, watch that. This guy named Sir Ebenezer Howard, who looks exactly like he sounds. He developed this theory called the Garden City theory. He wrote his book, Garden Cities of Tomorrow, in 1902. I'm sure you've read that on one of your days at the beach. But he was talking about how you want to combine the best of the country with the best of the city, right? The opportunity and the infrastructure of the city with the nature and the quiet of the country. And that's what, Jesus Christ. Holy Lord. The quiet of the country, like I was saying. So you want to combine those things, and you want to basically create a neighborhood where you can get the best of both worlds, right? So you have this here, and you have like the Phipps Garden apartment development right around here. It was actually created by a company for low-income housing. You have nearby, you have the Cosmopolitan houses a little further away. It's not in this area, but these were all developed in the 1920s for lower-income housing. The actual Cosmopolitan houses was created by the Metropolitan Life Insurance Company. That's right, a corporation creating low-income housing. What a concept. Huh? You're not gonna have that today. Although I do think Amazon is creating a low-income housing in New Mexico. They just recently came in the news. It's a giant net suspending all these poor people above the ground until Prime Day, when they bring them down to work for a bit and then put them right back up. So thanks a lot, Bezos. It was the Garden City theory that is behind a lot of Queens development, because this is the early 1900s. Remember, Queens was developed in the 1900s as opposed to Brooklyn, which was developed in the 1800s. So in the 1900s, you have places like Jackson Heights, you have places like Forest Hills, and you have places like Sunnyside developed under that theory. Pretty interesting, huh? Now, one of the famous people who lived in this area was named Louis Mumford. That's right, Louis Mumford. Not like the, I will wait for you. Not that Mumford. Very famous architectural critic here in New York. He commented on the Chrysler Building, all kinds of landmarks in the first half of the 1900s. Known for a lot of his smart insights into urban planning. He once said, in fact, adding highway lanes to deal with traffic congestion is like loosening your belt to deal with obesity. Smart man. Would have loved to have interviewed him if he wasn't long dead. Oh well, he also said that resistance to a human is like wind to a kite. You need it to go up higher. And that's what we're doing out here today, you know? Dealing with the elements to bring you stuff, okay? And so in the 1920s, 1930s, you also had different things added to the neighborhood to cater to this new kind of development being put here. Things like what is today the Jehovah's Witness Kingdom Hall. That was a theater. It's still there over on Greenpoint Ave. You also had the Madison Square Garden Bowl Arena, which was a boxing gym. The little site where it was located, also still there. I believe it's a car dealership today. A little different. But yeah, I don't know, man. Pretty cool. This is Sunnyside Gardens Park, you know, private park. You can put your application in and cross your fingers, you know. All right. Okay, so a lot of this neighborhood has been defined by the immigrants and the different waves that pass through here. I'm actually standing in front of the Butcher Block, which was opened in 1996 as one of the only Irish groceries in the city. Pretty cool, still there, huh? You can go in there and get your different teas and beers and cakes. I saw some Jaffa cakes. They're Squidgy Orange Center. That's what they call it, Squidgy Orange Center. Anyways, Irish came over here in the early 1900s as Queens started to get connected and as the transit system started to kind of connect Queens to the rest of the city. The original Irish started to come in the 1800s because of their close connection to Britain, and then in the mid-1800s because of the Irish hunger. I call it the Irish hunger, not the potato famine, because there was a potato famine, but one of the reasons why so many Irish died was because of the British. The British basically let the Irish starve to death, didn't help them out. It's pretty terrible. But either way, a lot of them left the country. About 2 million people came here to the United States. And yeah, so the Brits were the ones kind of making life worse for the Irish. Remember, Ireland wasn't even its own country until 1921. Wild to think that. It was a colony of the British for hundreds of years. They were fighting, and there was people getting exiled here in New York, all that stuff. So the Brits, you know, they're taking a piss. And it was always, you know, I mean, look at that, the friggin' Lucky Charms guy. That's a victim. The guy from the movie Leprechaun, he's a victim. That's why he's so angry, going around killing all those people. He was getting beat up by a colonizer. You got to take it out on someone, I guess. Really kind of changed the city. At one point, you know, the majority of the city was immigrants, so it's kind of wild. They came here because they got priced out of what was then New York City, right? This Irishman coming out to good to old Queens. God, that was horrendous. That sounded like a bad, you know, John Lennon impression, but you get it. Go figure, huh? They got priced out of. There's a plot twist for you. All the Irish getting priced out of Manhattan into here. So. Irish were a big defining feature of Sunnyside and then Woodside, which I'll talk about in a different video. Now, if you want more on the Irish and the Irish immigration, I did an entire video on the Irish, so you can watch that. Huh? Start putting it together. Get your education. Freak. Sorry, I didn't mean that. I meant freak in like a good way. I'm rambling. And today you have different pubs and things like that still harken back to the Irish, places like the Courtyard Ale House, places like McGuinness's. McGuinness ain't a Malaysian last name, I'll tell you that. So you got places like that still here, and like I said, in Woodside as well, which I'll talk about in that video. Anyways, let's keep it moving because the neighborhood has been changing and the Irish are slowly starting to kind of be replaced a little bit by the new immigrant group here, and we'll talk about that at our next stop. All right, let's move out of the sidewalk. People are looking at me weird. They always do. Okay, and I was saying that the immigrant groups are kind of changing over here in the neighborhood. Well, one of the big immigrant groups coming in today is the Latin American group. I'm actually standing in front of the Italia Spanish Theater, which was opened in 1977 as a Spanish theater, like the country of Spain. Over time, it's had to start including Latin American because that's what's in the neighborhood. They actually produce like bilingual plays, all that kind of stuff. In fact, right now they're running a play called Las Mujeres lo hacemos mejor que los hombres, which translates to women do it better than men. So all you men's rights activists get in the comments there and take issue with that probably. But yeah, they do all kinds of bilingual programming, pretty cool. And in the neighborhood, you have tons of different, restaurants and things that cater to, you name the group. So you have Colombian, you have places like I Love Paraguay. You have another popular place called the Bolivian Llama Party, which was also the theme to my graduation party in high school. But yeah, you have all kinds of these, and this, like I said, bilingual theater, pretty cool. And we're talking about like real, like Spanish productions, not like translated like, the Boys to Men album in the 90s where they just sing the songs in Spanish and they don't even know what they're saying. We're talking about real stuff, so you don't have to put up with Donde tú estás, si te llega mi voz, al ponerse el sol. Me recordarás, es lo natural, sigo estando en ti, yo. Sorry, it's pretty bad. Now keep in mind too, today the fastest growing immigrant group in New York City is the Mexican group, faster than even the Chinese, and it's growing. They say in like another less than 10 years, it'll be the biggest Latin American group in New York City, which is saying a lot considering you have Puerto Rican, Dominican, each over 500,000 people, so kind of wild. And yeah, you see that now today. I'm on Greenpoint Avenue actually, where you can see a lot of the restaurants and also one of the main drags here in Sunnyside. We'll take you right into Brooklyn. You just follow it over into the north end of Brooklyn here in Greenpoint, huh? Pretty cool. All right, well, I talked about this, sang a little Boys to Men in Spanish, a weird translation that they had, and we're ready to keep it moving. All right. Wow, we really covered a lot there, man. You learned about Sunnyside all in like 25 minutes or so, something like that. I don't know how the edit's gonna end, but we covered everything. We covered from the beginning, we covered when this is farmland, we covered when, the transit started to connect Queens, we covered the immigrant groups passing through here. It's a lot to cover, Did you learn something, Cam?
My brain is bigger.
Your brain is bigger. That's not how knowledge works, but I'll take the compliment. We learned about your people, man, the Irish people, pretty nice. So yeah, that's pretty much all of it. We're finished. If you guys liked it, go ahead, subscribe, like, all that stuff. What's that?
You're gonna be on TV.
Am I gonna be on TV? Probably not. Maybe one day.
Yeah, all right.
There you go. That's how we gotta have a positive thinking. Yeah, see, he liked it. So if you liked it, like and subscribe, Also, check out the Patreon. That's a huge thing. That's what's gonna help me get on TV. I gotta make up my promise to that guy, being on TV one day. Anyways, I don't know what to tell you. What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do now? Cam, you wanna go grab an empanada or something? Empanada? An empanada? All right. Guys, thanks for making it this far. You guys made it to the end. How cool is that? Hopefully you didn't skip over the whole thing and just go to this spot and you actually watched the whole thing. So thank you. See y'all later. Sick.